Hey everyone, Dr. Vince here. Welcome to this portion of the training, and we've covered now the transition. We've covered the Q&A. On our next training, we'll cover the close, the all-important close. But today we're going to cover the content. Okay, and when we're giving a public talk, when we're doing a dinner, whether it's a dinner talk or a lecture in the community, whatever, the content is obviously very important, and but it needs to be structured properly. It needs to be high impact. We can't be telling something that they can just look up on Google. And so let's quickly look at the structure of a great talk. We've covered this briefly before. We have our content, we have our Q&A, which is what we covered last time. We have our transition, which we covered before, and then again we have our close. So we have some kind of do's and don'ts on the content portion. There's an old adage in public speaking that says, when you have a talk, you start out by telling them what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. And the reason why is because, well, people have short attention spans, for one. They have a lot going on. They have phone, notifications, and they can get bored, and they're just, in general can be very distracted. But regardless, the reason why we kind of re-emphasize it is to just kind of drill it down, So a very simple way to open it is, hey everyone, welcome to the talk tonight. I'm Dr. Vince Leone, and we're going to cover peripheral neuropathy. We're going to talk about, the causes, the signs and symptoms, some of the typical treatments that may not be working for you, and then we're going to talk about the protocol that we're using that we're literally changing lives for many, many people in our community. And then you dive into your talk. Right? So we're jumping out here. So then you dive into your talk, and at the end, you say, okay, so hey, today, so what we talked about was, and then we talked about peripheral neuropathy, and we talked about the signs and symptoms and the causes and some of those, the options out there for you that really aren't doing you a lot of good. In fact, in some cases, they're doing you more harm than good. And then we talked about my protocol, right? And then now we're jumping out of the example. So you told them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you told them what you told them. And when we need to be passionate, right? So this is, if you're going to be doing dinner talks, and by the way, dinner talks, lunch and learns, whatever you want to call them, they're still super effective, right? Anytime we can get a bunch of people in a room that have a problem that we have the solution to, that is going to be a very good opportunity to create some high value patients, right? Now, so in other words, they work. Now, whether you're doing them correctly is a whole nother enchilada, right? Because, I've been doing these since 2010. It's how I built my neuropathy practice. And I learned a lot of stuff along the way, what to do, what not to do. But you have to be passionate, man. You just have to be passionate. I mean, if you're up there and you're not kind of full of the old quote unquote piss and vinegar, and it doesn't mean you have to be like yelling and screaming, but you need to be passionate about what you're doing, right? Because they're looking for a lifeline. They're looking for that kind of proverbial life vest or raft or whatever the heck that white round dinghy thing is that you throw to someone that's drowning. That's what they're looking for, and you need to provide it. And it starts with your passion. Right? Obviously, in the content, you need to provide expertise and develop rapport in the process. But before anything, before they're going to really, even start to believe you or even give a darn, they need to feel your passion. Okay, and then don't assume what they know. In fact, just kind of start at square one, because what you don't want to do is, if they're at square one and then you start at square five, then and it goes up to square nine, for a terrible analogy. But the point being is, if you leave out information, then they could be in the dark. They could be confused, and the confused mind will always say no, right? Because they don't have clarity. They don't want to move forward if they don't feel comfortable. So start at square one, and another old saying or adage is talk like you're talking to a seventh grader. So leave the big fancy words in your back pocket and talk to them like they are, frankly, a child. And you're not talking down to them. That's not the point here. Not talking down to them. We're just talking in very simple terms because, again, we want clarity. And some people graduated high school, and some people graduated college, and some people graduated with a PhD. And we want to to the okay. So that's kind of some what to do. I'm going to pop out of here, and I'm going to pull up an example of a talk that I, a framework I have. So this is for neuropathy, and by the way, in terms of timing, the research is showing about 20 minutes. In terms of people's attention span of what they can, actually still be alert for. Now, if you're out at dinner, we got, food coming in and blah, blah, blah. But the content portion should really be no longer than 20 minutes. Now that doesn't mean like A to Z, like in other words, content, Q&A, transition, and close is all 20 minutes. No, just the content portion, right? Because then we're going to shift gears when we go into Q&A. Then we're going to transition into our close. We're going to bring things down and move into our into the close portion. But let's take just a really quick look at this example. So, Patient's Guide to Understanding Peripheral Neuropathy, Part 1: What it is and the signs and symptoms. And then you just kind of blow through this. Well, what is peripheral neuropathy? Well, peripheral, we're talking about the hands and feet, and the neuropathy is nerve damage. And then, hey, here's some signs and symptoms: pain, numbness, tingling. And obviously you're going to, spend a little more time here, going through some of these and how it may be affecting their life, right? When people have numbness in their feet, boy, one thing that, we're always scared about is falls, because we don't feel our feet very well, which means we don't feel the ground very well, which means we can trip and fall and blah, blah, blah. So you can take some of those signs and symptoms and relate them to what they may be experiencing. So then we go into the causes. Well, what are the causes? And then we talk about diabetes and blah, 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 all these different causes. And then we go through common treatments, okay? So my point with showing you this is the structure really for any, whether it's decompression or stem cell or weight loss or whatever. You can go through this format of what it is, signs and symptoms, causes. Doesn't really work for weight loss, but causes, common treatments. And here, this is important. The common treatments, you're going to you're going to bring some up, and then you're going to knock them down. Okay, and because at the end of the day, what we want to do is now show our safe, effective, and comprehensive approach, right? And then you go through your multi-tiered approach or whatever you're doing and why it's so great, right? And so you just talk about all these different things. And so again, I would shoot for in the neighborhood of about 20 minutes for your content. So now we're going to jump back in here, and we're going to look at, well, what not to do. Well, don't be boring. Please don't be boring. Now, again, doesn't mean you need to tell jokes, though I wouldn't advise against it. If any of you are Joel Osteen fans and you listen to his podcasts or watch him on TV, well, he starts every sermon with a joke, and they're always funny. They're great. So, hey, if you're funny, or if you can find some good, clean jokes, don't tell dirty jokes, but if you get some, a clean joke and you can weave it in there, hey, why not? It's a wonderful way to break the ice. They don't know you, you don't know them. You could always open up, hey, I'm Dr. Vince Leone. Thank you so much for showing up to this talk. I know you guys are busy. It's it's a Wednesday evening, and I lured you out here with this a free dinner, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I had this one story, and you can tell it a quick joke, right? And by the way, just because you're funny doesn't mean they won't take you serious. It's an excellent way to develop rapport. But regardless, don't be boring, okay? And don't overstay your welcome. Now, some doctors, if you can believe this, case in point, me, like to hear ourselves talk. And so we may talk a little too much, all right? So don't overstay your welcome. Don't be boastful. Don't say, I've got to help everybody from the mayor to the quarterback of the football team. Don't do that. It's arrogant. It never comes off correctly, and it will turn most of the people off. And that's not a very common thing. And don't be dishonest. Obviously, if they say if insurance doesn't cover it, and someone, we talked about this in that Q&A section, but if insurance doesn't cover it, don't say, well, come on in, we'll check your insurance. You never know. Don't do that. I mean, now, if some aspects of your protocol does have insurance coverage, absolutely. Why? You can say, there are some aspects that are covered at times, and the only way we'll know is if you come in, we'll call your insurance company, tell them what we do, and they'll tell us that they cover it. So, but obviously, always be 100% honest, because for obvious reasons. And then here's a little secret weapon in the content portion: is that if you can get a testimonial, if you can get a live patient. Now, if you can't get a live patient, put in some testimonials. You can put in video testimonials in your PowerPoint. You can put in, text with their picture next to it, and you can read it. But you need testimonials. But a secret weapon, and I'd always bring in a past patient who obviously got outstanding results. You don't want someone coming in that had terrible results, but bring in, and you're obviously, they're very happy, and a lot of times they want to help you out. They want to help more people and spread the word. So, hey, I'm going to buy you dinner. Come on out. If you could do this, and if it's once a month or just one time, and you can bring in different people. When someone stands up and tells their story of where they were at prior to getting treatment and where they're now after getting Dr. Leone's amazing treatment protocol, and the things they can do and the places they can go and blah, blah, blah. Oh my goodness. And then they start answering questions. It's a ringer. Okay. So if you can do that, it's very, very effective. So here's some action items. Go ahead, review or create a PowerPoint, right? Then practice and practice and practice a little more. Time it out. Make sure that your content portion is no more than 20 minutes. Just right around there. I would video your talk. Okay, if you're going to do these and you're going to commit to them, and I always recommend just doing one big one a month. But if you're going to do these once a month, and you're going to spend the money and time, effort, energy, and get your whole staff behind it and all that good stuff, video it, because this is your profession, and it can be a highly lucrative source of high quality new patients. But you won't really know unless you can see yourself and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, and I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop saying 50,000 times and blah blah blah. So find your testimonial and have fun, and know that you're changing lives. Okay, I'm Dr. Vince. I hope this has helped. So take action, implement this stuff, and if you have any questions, you can just shoot me an email at drvince@drvinceleone.com. Leave a comment below, and we'll see you on the next training. Take care.